You get like a like
I know why you're asking me this. And I wish I had a more patriotic answer to your question. You got it.
Thanks. So, मुझे सबसे पहले मुझे सबसे पहले पूछना है इटली के बारे में. How was it?
Oh damn!
हाँ.
Italy was very fun.
Right.
This was my first trip without a SIM card. I was really there. So
How come?
yeah, because I have struggled to disconnect from work for the longest time. So this time, I mean, over several trips over the last 4 years, I tried to automate how things work at Beyond, and this time it really worked. So, but Italy was great. It was my yearly break.
So like
We did a road trip around the country. It was really nice.
Yeah, I was looking at your stories. बहुत FOMO हो रहा था मुझे. So, welcome to Beyond Design, Italy. Italy के बारे में मुझे बात करना है. But before that, how did you like started your design journey?
Do you want me to start from the point of college? Or?
Yep. Yeah. So
Okay.
you've been to Shrishti, right?
Correct.
हाँ.
So I think I'll start from school.
Hmm.
When I was in school, the only thing I was good at was art.
Okay.
So my parents were like, "यही पे scope नजर आ रहा है थोड़ा बहुत." So no, I mean I was always very inclined towards creative practices, towards performing arts, and I was always on that side of the educational spectrum. So when I graduated, 10th standard is not graduation, but like when I was done with my 10th grade, I knew I wanted to do my junior college in art. So I picked up psychology, sociology, etc. And at that point, you used to have these young buzz and your career counseling. And,
Right.
yeah. And just to give you a little bit of background, I'm the first person in my family who's in a creative field. So my family is full of my family is full of like IT engineers and people working in the government. And
Totally relate.
so
Yeah.
so but my mom was at that point sure that I will not last in any of those jobs. So we did like a career counseling thing with this organization called Young Buzz, and they said that she has full aptitude in creative things.
Okay.
So professions to consider: design, advertising. Like
How does it work usually?
what?
The counseling thing. How
Well,
do they determine ki?
You have like a 3-hour long exam where you're just like picking multiple choice questions and
Okay,
you're
okay.
answering them.
हाँ.
And they judge you based on like an analytical mindset, strategic mindset, creative mindset. There are multiple markers.
Okay.
And based on the answers you pick, which are a reflection of your choices, they say that you are good at XYZ and these are your career options as per your current IQ maybe.
Why I ask that? Because I come from a city जहाँ पे अभी भी लोग बहुत ज़्यादा like they're struggling to find what they're good at. Or I don't think counseling is yet a thing over there, and I'm pretty sure ऐसे बहुत से cities में होगा.
I think now in Bombay, this career counseling is actually integrated in a lot of schools also.
Okay.
So by the time students are in 9th grade, like one of my cousin brothers gave an aptitude test in 9th grade just to understand what his choice of subjects in 11th and 12th should be.
Okay.
So I think it's becoming a thing now. And this like my aptitude test was what back in 2008, 2009.
Okay,
So
that's
career choices were also a lot lesser than they are
I
right
must
now.
say you were really ahead of time.
Yes, and that also means I'm really old right now. So so yeah. So I did that, and then 11th and 12th I did from a junior college in Bombay, Ruia. Main focus was always preparing for my entrance exams. So I had applied to NID, Shrishti, Symbiosis, MIT, 4 schools.
Okay.
And back then these were the top 4 schools in India. So applied and an IFT for backup.
Okay.
So these were the institutes, and then eventually the choice to go to Shrishti came in because NID didn't work out at that point.
Okay.
And I got through all the other schools, but I think curriculum wise my parents thought that Shrishti was my best option. Also it was away from home, and that brings a different type of growth. I think
away from home मतलब
like in
आपका-
Bangalore.
अच्छा, that
Yeah.
was in Bangalore.
So Pune symbiosis were all in Pune, and I would probably come back home every weekend at that point.
Oh.
So my parents were like, "You will grow a lot more if you study away from home.
Hmm.
You learn to like build your own life, etc." So went to Shrishti. Shrishti was the best thing that happened to me. Shrishti was very different from what it is right now, but back then it was a 4-year program. The first 3 years you could explore any field in design, and so I did film, art, communication, visual, branding, systems, everything. And then in the 4th year you pick a specialization.
I must say the counselor was right.
So in the 4th year you pick a specialization.
Okay.
And we had like a mentor who would be with us through the 4 years. So in the 4th year we realized that my aptitude is in service design. And luckily for me, that was the year Shrishti got affiliated with a university, and I also got a degree.
What year?
This was in 2016.
2016. Okay. So तब service design के बारे में लोगों को
So
पता था?
we were the first batch to graduate with a service design degree. We were
Okay.
6 of us. So I think we were the first 6 formal service designers in India. And not that it matters now, but at that point it was like, oh, you know. But that also meant that service design was not a recognized profession. When we did our art, the final semester exhibition, all of us got job offers from the same company, which was IBM, because at that point only IBM was recognizing service design
In India.
in India.
Okay.
And it was a super corporate job. I knew that is not the line I wanted to go down. And I also wanted to study service design more in depth. So generally, I mean, people go for masters after working, but I wanted to do it immediately after because I felt like service
So
design.
graduation करने के बाद like you didn't choose a like to
No, I chose not to work. I chose
Okay.
to do my master's immediately after, mainly because I had only done service design in my 4th year, and I knew that this has a lot of tools, processes. It's a lot more diverse than other design streams. So it would make sense to study it further. And honestly, if at that point there were more jobs in India, I would have worked and learned on the job. But that was not the case. So I decided to do my master's immediately after.
Okay.
And I only applied to 2 schools. One was Glasgow School of Art, where I ended up going. And the second university that I wanted to apply to, but it didn't work out at that point, was University of Dundee.
Okay.
So that is also in UK. But I couldn't apply because they had shut the program for that year because they were revising their curriculum.
Okay.
So the choice of UK happened because I learned that service design is a part of their government.
Okay.
Which is
That's
so
interesting.
crazy because they use service design to design your public services, and it's existed in the UK for a really long time. So that's how.
But then like why you chose to come back, like because अगर I'm assuming कि अगर सर्विस डिज़ाइन यूके में पढ़ा है राइट, तो वहाँ के प्रोजेक्ट से डील करना सीखा होगा. देन इंडिया इट्स लाइक अ डिफरेंट वर्ल्ड ऑल टुगेदर राइट, द वे पीपल बिहेव, द वे सिस्टम्स आर पुट टुगेदर ओवर हियर, इट्स लाइक वे टू डिफरेंट. तो why did you choose यहाँ पर क्यों
Okay. So after my course got over, I was actually working in the UK for a bit. And then I had to come back because of family reasons, and I was really upset at that point that I had to come back. But I am very grateful now, and I wish I had a more patriotic answer to your question. but the truth is, I came back because of personal reasons.
Okay.
And I think once I was back here, I still continually had that urge in me to practice service design and to say that, you know, there is so much that can be done here. And not till I came back and started looking at India from a service design lens did I realize that working in the UK, we were bettering some services that were already working good. But here there was a chance to make something good from scratch. Right? But I had just come back and I didn't know what the design industry here looked like. It was my first job in India.
And I must tell you कि so sorry to cut you off अभी, but I must tell you इंडिया में बहुत लोगों का ये कंसर्न होता है कि how to start off.
Sure.
वो बहुत टफ होता है.
Sure. We'll come to that. So I came back and I started working at the Minimalist, which is one of the leading design companies now. And my hiring story there is rather embarrassing because I came back and I was continually looking for like service design jobs. And I saw that Minimalist has a customer experience advisory.
Okay.
At that point, I did not know what an advisory was. And I applied to be an advisory. So advisories are actually industry experts who guide founders.
Okay.
But I didn't know that.
You ended up guiding.
So I wrote like a application which says application to join the Minimalist advisory. And the HR wrote back and said, that is for industry veterans. Would you like a UX design job? And I'm like, shit. So, so UX design came to me in a way that it was always a micro part of service design, like the digital part of the experience.
Okay.
So, since I wanted to work in a startup, be in a fast-paced environment, be a part of building something, I decided that UX is a great option, and I could always use service design in my research on how I do things.
But like, was industry really looking forward for it?
No. It wasn't. Industry wasn't mature enough at that point to recognize service design. This is 2018, right? So this is the time when India is still differentiating between UX and UI as two separate fields. And then a third, service design, drops in and people are like, wait, we need to figure this out.
Right.
So I worked as a UX designer for 2 years, and that experience was amazing. Founders were great, building a team was great. I had a great mentor, I had a great boss. It was all amazing, but I always still wanted to keep doing service design.
Okay.
And I feel like that feeling started nagging me after a while. So since I was in Shrishti, मैं काफी networking events और ये सब में जाती थी. तो over time एक decent network बन गया था, and I didn't realize that till I started working independently, right? So when people came to know, when I actually changed on LinkedIn that, you know, I have left the Minimalist, a lot of people started contacting me saying, oh, you know, we have XYZ design requirement and it was so great to like work with you in the past. I used to freelance during college also. So are you able to pick work up right now? Blah, blah, blah. So that's why मेरा break तो खत्म ही हो गया. I started working almost like immediately into my free time.
Okay.
So I started, and actually the weird part was the last day at Minimalist was 1st March, and 30th or 29th March the pandemic started.
2019.
Yeah. So this is 2019, and so in that 1 month I had already started freelancing, and the pandemic hit. And contrary to what most businesses would say, the pandemic was amazing for me.
Why so?
Because most brands started going online, right?
Okay, yeah.
So while during the pandemic, most of my friends were chilling and free, I was working like 14 to 16 hours a day on the minimum. I was a solo person, so I was doing a lot. And then that's when Beyond happened, because I was working with one of the real estate companies that is backed by Lodha.
How do you come across these people?
So the person who got this job to me was one of my team members' partner.
Okay.
So someone I met at the Minimalist, this was her partner, and he was I think he was in a VP position in the company for product. Okay. And I mean, she and I had worked together quite a bit, and he had heard about me, and he's like, oh, you know what, we're looking to outsource design.
Right.
So that's how it came in. And as work kept increasing, word of mouth happened, and work started coming in. I realized that this is too much for one person to do.
Right.
So we started getting clients, and then suddenly at some point they're like, oh, do you have a GST number? And at that point you're like Googling what is GST number. So that's how I got my GST number. Okay. Because people were asking for it. Right. And soon I think everything happened so organically. I don't think I sat and said that, you know, end of 2 months GST, end of 4 months company. No, things just happened as they kept getting demanded.
Right.
So work kept increasing. Hiring happened organically, because at one point I knew that I cannot meet the type of workload that is coming my way.
Right.
So my first hire was a UI designer. Second was a UX designer.
Tab tak you were like working all by yourself? Sure,
but this hiring, like I hired my first UI designer in I think June. So I started in March. The first hire was in June. And the next one was in November. And then on and on. Now we're a 15 people team.
That's great. Now I want to go back conversation में थोड़ा सा. for you, I think there are like several touch points that I can figure out अभी जो भी बात किया उसमें से. So अगर किसी ने like एक design college में अपनी पढ़ाई नहीं की है, like I'm pretty sure journey won't be the same, but like can you suggest कि someone who's not from a design school वो कैसे कर सकता है ये सब चीज़ें, the network part and all.
So I think in today's day, I mean, sure, it helps to say that I studied in Srishti and then at Glasgow School of Art. I'm sure it adds merit to conversations and certain setups. But आज के दिन में, even if you're a really curious person who is just learning design because you're passionate about it and can hold a conversation, observe, talk about what is working or not working in the industry, people are willing to hear. Right? Like today, there are so many people in my UI team who haven't formally studied design. They're self-taught designers, but they're so great at what they do just because they have spent enough time in mastering it on their own.
Do you take people from UX bootcamp जिन्होंने UX bootcamp किया?
Okay, so अगर कोई just UX bootcamp करके आता है, and we've learned this by hiring people who've come by our bootcamps before, I feel like their foundation is not sound. And while I do believe that UX can be learned on the job, I feel like spending time in teaching someone the foundation of UX on the job is not exactly... It's I don't think it's a wise idea because everyone has a different learning pace. So I would say that even if you do a UX bootcamp, you still need to spend some months in trying to build work, learn from more online courses, try to gain skills that can help you do a project independently. You have a better chance at lasting in the industry.
Right, get it. Okay, but let's say someone, okay, अभी UX की बात हो गई, right? But आज के टाइम पे इंडिया में अगर किसी को एज अ सर्विस डिज़ाइनर सर्विस डिज़ाइन की पढ़ाई या करियर स्टार्ट करना है, सो इज इट इम्पोर्टेंट कि UX पहले पढ़ना चाहिए?
नहीं. So I think if you learn service design first, you will easily pick up UX because UX is a part of service design. So I think we should just take a step back and say what service design is.
Okay, sure.
Because
that would really help a lot.
Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of ambiguity around how to define service design, and then it will make sense why UX is a part of it. So the easiest way that we have found for how to define a service also is that we say that a service is something that helps someone do something. So it helps a person meet a goal. That goal can be anything. It can be to renew a passport, learn to drive, travel from point A to point B, rent a house, start a business. That is a person's goal. And then everything that they do to meet their goal is service. Right? Okay. So a lot of times people say that सर्विस क्या होता है, उबर सर्विस देता है, उबर कहता है कि ठीक है हम तुम्हें कैब देंगे, तुम्हें A to B जाना है ना, हम तुम्हें कैब देंगे.
मुंबई में ऐसा थोड़ा टफ होता है.
So but that is not a complete service, right? That is not the only thing I need to do to go from point A to point B. आज अगर मैं उबर का ऐप खोलूं, what if I have low battery? What if I don't understand English? What if I am someone who is disabled in some form and I need help to operate the app? Does Uber support read and speech? So service design gets into that detail of every touch point to make sure कि एक जो service है वो काफी सारे लोग use कर पाए. It's good for the user, it's good for the business, it's good for the planet, it is accessibility friendly, it is inclusive of what someone can do, has or does not have access to. So service design goes into your online and offline touch points, and not just that, you're opening your app and booking a cab. And it's never that easy, right? You obviously open two apps, you see Uber, Ola together. Sometimes the driver cancels. So who takes care of all of this? All of this comes under service design.
And I'm assuming that goes beyond the digital landscape.
Sure, digital is just one part of the experience, but there are also so many physical touch points involved.
Is this the reason why you named it as Beyond Design?
No, actually, how Beyond came in as a name is, again, it's not like an insightful story either.
I would love to know.
So again, like going back to the GST
Huh.
era, where I was getting my GST number, I had to name the organization because your GST is registered against an organization, and didn't know what to do or what to say. So my dad and I wrote like some 200 names of any name that we could think of that would work for a studio. Beyond was one of them, actually something that he suggested. And then the next day we were like, okay, आज हमें कौन से नाम याद रह पा रहा है?
Oh shit.
And Beyond was one of the names, and we were like, okay, this means this name has sticky value, so let's just run with it. But as the brand grew, people created so many interpretations out of Beyond. I felt like I got really lucky with the name.
Okay, great. That was great. Now, मुझे अभी बात करना है Beyond Design के बारे में. I also want to know because I've been following up you on social media. I'm pretty sure a lot of people must be doing so. So मुझे
just all 960 of you.
शायद इसके बाद थोड़े बढ़ जाएंगे. I'm not. Share this video on there. So what's an ideal day in Beyond Design like?
I would say for me every day is very different because I think because I come from a design background, I had to learn business on the go. And this is true for a lot of design founders that you are not exactly taught how to run a business, how to be an entrepreneur, manage operations, even understand how taxation works in a design school.
Right.
So these are things you learn as you grow. So for me, every day comes with newer questions and newer things to learn. For the team, so we work hybrid. So people get 2 deep working days at home, and then the 3 days that they're here, it's all collaboration chaos. So we've called you in on an off day so that there is no background noise in the video. And I think
अगर है भी तो manage कर लेना.
So yeah, I mean, life at Beyond is actually, I would like to think it's quite collaborative. We are a small team, so again, very closely knit. People work very well together. Someone being culturally a fit is one of the biggest things we look at when we're hiring. So not to say that, you cannot be different, but are you willing and able to gel into a larger team?
Right.
So it's a big part. So I think people come in the morning, they get their own half an hour in the beginning of the day to set up, read their newsletter, set their desk, whatever they want to do. And then every day looks different.
I mean, I looked around the space. It's pretty cozy to work. Like for anyone who wants to, maybe like if she invites you, aa jao dekho. Like it's a cozy place to be and work. And apart from that, I also want to talk about the content side of Beyond Design and like Ishiyetaa. So how do you plan your content? Yeah, kaise? Because that's the very, I think I'll also come to Service Design Social. जिससे मुझे पता चला about Beyond Design. But after that, I actively started following you and Beyond Design. So I want to know कि like content side में और content क्यों important होता है when you're growing like as an studio, right? So content का importance क्या होता है?
Very tricky question. But I think even today, like most of my work is coming in from word of mouth. So you get your first 10 clients, you service them really well, they recommend you to more people, and it's like a loop. So I think what you post online and how your brand is perceived is directly related. And I get a lot of inquiries when I talk about specific things online. So there was a time when I was posting a lot on my Twitter about my interest in female health designing for it. We onboarded clients from the space.
Wanted to have a conversation on that side as well, because that certainly impacted me, influenced me, right? So वही मुझे पूछना था content कैसे work out करता है.
So I think there are a lot of, I mean, I've spoken to multiple content strategists, etc. But over a period of time, I realized that I am able to create my best content when I'm authentic about what I'm saying. So after that point, I was just like, I'm going to write and talk about what I am feeling right now, rather than leaning into a trend or trying to talk about something just because it's an upcoming industry and great to get clients from. because when I'm passionate about something, I'm really able to give it my all.
Right.
And
Certainly.
I have realized that whenever I write about things that I am genuinely curious and interested in, I am able to generate a lot of traction. And that traction might not be in the form of likes or comments, but I have founders reaching out to me in my DMs. I have people recommending me, WhatsApping me, and saying that, you know, you wrote this thing and I feel like it really resonates with my brand. And I would love to just, you know about what you think about this from a design perspective, from a consumer perspective. So from a relationship building perspective, what you talk about plays a very massive role.
What kind of DMs do you usually get? Like
I know why you're asking me this.
I mean, even we have just started out, and I get weird ass questions.
So some of the DMs are really nice. I'll have people who will say that, you know what, I've been following your content and I'm really interested in service design.
Oh.
Second type is from people who will say that, hey, I want to do my master's at GSA and I want to know what your experience was like. Then there are some who will be like, hey, I'm a new founder, I'd love to exchange notes. So ye sab bhi aata hai. And then there are some really weird ones like
Kaise hote hai wo?
So once, I mean, this was not a DM, it was an email.
Okay.
But we chose someone for one of our job openings. We really liked the person's portfolio, and the person basically emailed back saying that I won't be coming in for the interview because I'm really uncomfortable to report to a female boss. That was the first time something like that happened to me, and I'm like, dude, it's like 2022, you gotta not say this. But then it happened 2-3 times after that as well. So I realized this is more common than we think. But yeah.
Okay, now I also want to talk about, like, I want to have a set of conversation on what is this Femtech, or why is it important?
Okay. Yes. So Femtech is basically technology that is built to support female health. So the term Femtech was coined by Ida Tin, who's the founder of this period tracking app. And I think it's a growing industry. It's, if I'm not mistaken, going to be a $50 billion industry by the end of 2035, 2040. And you have a lot of Femtech brands coming out of India now.
Okay. Are you working with any?
We are. So since 2021 October, we've been working as a design partner with Vera Health, which is an app that helps you manage your PCOS.
Okay.
And great brand, great founders, really good to work with. So yeah, I mean, we've been working with them. But Femtech in itself is now gaining traction. People are looking to invest in specific type of Femtech, which is hardware products in this, like as of today.
Okay.
And Femtech is divided into 4 parts. So you have your period tracking and lifestyle diseases. You have your pre-pregnancy, you have your during and post-pregnancy, and then you have menopausal health.
Okay.
Right? So we are seeing a lot of movement in the period tracking and lifestyle space. There is some stuff in pre-pregnancy and post-pregnancy. Menopausal health is still to come up quite a bit.
So, okay, I'm just trying to like connect Femtech and beyond design, right? India में since हर चीज़ like बहुत सारी चीज़ें stereotypical है, right? So, like, how do I put in? Okay, so let's say कोई एक you have a male employee, right? So, do you really educate them about Femtech की कैसे?
Sure, I mean, the UI designer on Vera Health is a male.
Okay.
And I feel like we've been able to have a very open culture here. So people are very like open about their period cramps or, blah, blah, blah. So I think that type of comfort comes when you have an open culture. So yeah, I mean, it's not like a hush hush.
Yeah, but I've been like reading about it, and India में people they in generally उन लोगों को इतना ज़्यादा female health और hygiene के बारे में इतना नहीं पता होता. So like what is the scope like in India specifically?
So I think there are now companies that are solving for this, where they're trying to increase awareness about female in workspace. They're trying to bring policies around menopausal health for older women in the organization. They're trying to see how pregnancy leave periods can be taken care of. So a lot of things are happening, but I feel like because they are new, they're not scaled yet. But definitely seeing a lot of movement in the space of awareness and awareness linking to like working policy, etc.
Okay, great. Now I want to go back to
Sure.
like since you just came back from Italy, right? मुझे इटली के बारे में जानना. You have studied abroad, right? I have a friend in Italy, Milan में. He's doing like primarily he's doing UX, but then उसने मुझे बताया कि the way इंडिया में perceive होता है UX, it's completely different over there. So what is it about like इंडिया के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में लोग यूएक्स को अभी भी सर्विस से डिफरेंशिएट क्यों करते हैं? बिकॉज मुझे भी इतनी क्लैरिटी अभी तक नहीं थी कि आई यूज्ड टू कंसिडर सर्विस लाइक एज अ डिफरेंट टॉपिक ऑल टुगेदर, यूएक्स डिफरेंट, बट समवेयर मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा ओवरलैप्स लगते हैं यूएक्स में और सर्विस में भी.
हाँ, क्योंकि है. एंड आई थिंक दिस हैज़ अ लॉट टू डू विथ हाउ आवर स्टार्टअप इकोनॉमी इज बूमिंग. We are in a very digital era where your service, your product, and your marketing have all become the same thing, right? So today you might be the owner of a D2C company who sells kick-ass products, right? But any first-time consumer or even repeat consumer, when they come to buy your product, you are still heavily dependent on word of mouth for them to be willing to purchase it. And by word of mouth, I don't mean verbally saying that, oh, this product is brilliant, but it's also in your online reviews, in how people are talking about your product on Twitter, Instagram, all these spaces. And because the internet is such a thing now, and people have so many opinions as always, it's all out there.
Right.
So you might have a great product, but if your other service touch points are not taken care of, a consumer may not come in for a repeat purchase. And by other service touchpoints, I mean your customer support executive. Is this person rude or trained enough to answer questions? What are your return policies? Like, am I able to return a product easily, or are you going to give me a hard time? Is the product quality as you're mentioning in your description? So this is when your service, your product, and marketing are all becoming the same thing. So even though how we design UX or how we work for service design still has its own fundamentals, ये तीनों चीजें एक दूसरे से अलग नहीं कर सकते.
Right. Like, so service design, I'm considering it as a, correct me if I'm wrong, like I'm considering it as a bigger umbrella.
Yeah.
और उसके नीचे सारी चीजें
Perfect.
होती है.
You got it.
Thanks. Okay. Another thing, like since you have been, I think you're the, I would call you pioneers in service design in India.
Sure. That would be a first, but
I mean,
yeah, sure.
2016 में जब आई थिंक हम लोगों ने पहले भी बात की कि यूएक्स यूआई को लोग सेपरेट नहीं कर पाए थे, और तब सर्विस डिज़ाइन के बारे में बात करना, आई फील इंडिया में अभी पता नहीं क्या स्टेज. सो कैन यू टेल मी कि हाउ इट हैज़ ग्रोन इन इंडिया?
Okay. So I think when I was in UK, I experienced a lot of service design events, community events, and I thought this is so great, doing something back home which brings service designers together to kind of exchange notes, propagate the field, etc. would be so great. And there is this thing called Service Design Jam. Okay. Global Service Jam, GSJ, Global Service Jam. So I attended my first one in Glasgow, and big fan.
What is
so
that
good.
like?
So Global Service Jam is essentially a global service design event which happens in around 30 countries at the same time.
Okay.
And they have a secret theme, and it's hosted by a studio or any organization that wants to. And when I attended one in Glasgow, there was only one happening in India in Bangalore.
Okay.
And बाकी countries में multiple locations में हो रहा था.
ये हर इवेंट बैंगलोर में क्यों होता है? सारे डिजाइन इवेंट्स बैंगलोर में क्या होता है? आई थिंक मेरे पहले के भी पॉडकास्ट में बोल चुका हूँ कि मुंबई दिल्ली वाले कहाँ जाएंगे?
नहीं, I think मुंबई में events हो रहे हैं, we just don't market them very well.
I think you're doing
yeah, so we've only started marketing it well enough now, but we'll come to that. So at that point I was like, if I ever move back to India, I'm going to put India on service design's map, because there is stuff happening there, but it's just not coming to light. So when I came back and I was working at the Minimalist, again there was a service jam happening that year, and it was hosted by a studio in Bangalore. I wrote to them. I went to Bangalore and I hosted the event for 90 designers.
Okay.
It was fabulous. I was like, okay, there are 95 people in India interested in service design. This is so big. So we did that.
And what year was that?
This was 2018.
18. Okay.
This was 2018.
Pretty new.
Yeah. Pretty new. But to have 90 people was
right.
Wow. Like I never thought that those many people would even want to hear about service design.
Yeah, sure.
So that happened. And then when I started Beyond, when I was at 0 employees, I knew agla service jam mujhe karna hai. So we did our first jam in 21. And वो next 21 में हुआ था शायद. So we did our next jam in 21. We hosted it online. It was really good.
Okay.
We got a good crowd. I think around 50 people signed up.
Here in Mumbai itself, right?
So we kept it online, so
online
people could
also.
join from anywhere.
Yeah. So.
And COVID, so yeah, we hosted our jam. And when we hosted that jam, I realized that अगर virtually इतना मजा आया तो in person कितना आएगा?
Sure.
Right, because the days of the jam were so collaborative. We saw so many insightful conversations happening in different break rooms, etc. That at that point I was like, we have to take this offline.
Right.
And I remember telling my team, this year we are taking this offline, and they're like, things have just opened up after the pandemic.
I've been a part of like the last service design social. It was great fun.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hearing and then talking
I think
to people. And then
the last one was the biggest one.
Okay.
It attracted the most number of people that ever came to a jam.
Yeah, including everything UX. Like all of us, we were there. It was great fun.
Yeah.
But definitely, I mean, to be around like-minded people, like I think हम लोगों ने like कैमरा के पीछे भी बात की है कि इंडिया में बहुत सारे लोग they are deprived of these conversations.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think because service design is so new, कोई organizations में जो service designers होते हैं, they're like 1 or 2 in number. तो उनको वो community, larger team feeling वो सब नहीं मिल पाती है initial stages में. So I feel like when these people come here, they have so much to share and so much to know that there is so much merit in being around 20 people who do the same thing as you. So we hosted our first jam, and I think this was 2022.
Okay.
Last year we hosted our first offline jam. पहले वाले में 20 लोग आए, दूसरे वाले में 30 लोग आए, तीसरे वाले में 60 लोग आए.
Okay.
And
kept on multiplying.
It keeps growing, right? Like, so yeah, it's been nice. We're also experimenting with different formats, but the essence of service design social, what we're calling it, the essence of service design social is to keep offline events happening, so that people have a physical room to meet and talk about what they're doing. And we get great crowds, like you were there last time. There are people from health, insurance, fintech, people coming from all types of backgrounds, and they say, hey, this is how I'm doing service design in my organization, what about you?
So how does it feel like जब I mean पहले के टाइम पे ऐसे इवेंट्स होते थे, right? I think I must be a kid back then. लोग इंजीनियरिंग के बारे में बात कर रहे होते थे, बाकी सारे प्रोफेशंस इतने ज़्यादा हाइप में थे. So how does it feel like when you kind of take an ownership of like such events? You feel कितने सारे लोगों तक है reaching out. So कैसी फीलिंग होती है?
I think the most exciting part about all this for me is that I get to interact with so many service designers, because not many organizations in India today have more than 3 or 4 service designers on their team. So when you see so many people, you feel like मुझे जानना है what all these 60 people are doing. I want to know what you're doing. How are you doing it differently? What are your challenges? These are mine. What do you think about it? So I think that entire space and opportunity to interact with so many people is the most exciting part for me.
Right. So अभी किस stage पे है? Then आगे की क्या possibilities है इंडिया में specifically?
For social or for service
for
design?
service design.
I think in about 8 to 10 years from now, service design will become the next UX. It will be your hot field, and it will be a great thing, because as we are growing, the importance of service touch points is becoming increasingly important. After a point, every brand will have perfected their product, and the whole game will be about who services better.
Right.
And this is also a good time to sort of take a step back and think about when service design became such a big thing. So I would say several years ago, we had Airtel, Vodafone, Idea, all these big telecom companies, and you know what an exciting product a SIM card is.
Right.
So you would say that, you know, क्या फर्क पड़ता है कौन सा SIM card है जब तक नेटवर्क आ रहा है. ठीक है, फिर सबका नेटवर्क आने लगा.
Right.
फिर you're like, नेटवर्क तो सबका आता है, जो इंटरनेट पे एकदम मजेदार चीज देगा मैं वो लूंगा जिसमें मेरे को मैक्सिमम यूजेज मिल पाए.
Right.
So you started picking based on that. Then it became, oh, this brand is giving me free talk time. And then suddenly Jio came in and they're like, तुम सिर्फ इंटरनेट के पैसे दोगे बाकी सब फ्री.
Jio तो like revolution था.
Yeah, but if you see pre-Jio, just pre-Jio, when these 3-4 companies were the telecom giants and people were making a choice, eventually it became about who has the best customer support. क्योंकि इंटरनेट, सिम कार्ड, फ्री टॉक टाइम सब दे रहे थे. देन इट्स अबाउट कि आज मैं अटका हूँ तो कौन सा कस्टमर रिप्रेजेंटेटिव मेरे से अच्छे से बात कर रहा है. Right? And I feel like that is where this whole service design started coming into play in the industry, where brands started realizing that जब product perfect हो जाता है ना, then it's all about how well you serve your customer. And it started there, and of course it has grown in its own way to give it. Then the same mentality went into the banking sector, and I feel like service design is one of those things which started with really scaled up services and it's now trickling down to the smaller ones.
So like, do you work with clients जो अभी छोटे स्केल पर हैं और वो इसकी इम्पोर्टेंस समझ रहे हैं?
Yeah. So I mean, our clientele it's very diverse. We've worked with the government also. We've worked with like a startup that is yet to be funded also. Okay. So it's very diverse that way.
Okay. Now, what's next for Beyond Design?
So I think currently, if I had to say, our balance in the portfolio is still more product design and less service design. It's slowly changing. Service design ka percentage is slowly increasing, but we are still not even at 50-50. Which is only because the field is maturing a little slowly.
Right.
So the goal is to be 100% service design studio.
अभी तक है इंडिया में या फिर मुंबई में specifically?
So हमारे clients तो across रहे हैं. We've done service design work for clients who are not in India also, which is less heard of in the industry because most services have very physical offline touch points. But I think an area in service design that I'm always very excited about is public services. Okay. So I think my interest in designing services at scale peaked when we started working with one of the governments in South India for organizing a service which essentially helped farmers buy and sell agricultural land. And at that point मुझे realize हुआ कि इंडिया में कितनी सारी public services हैं which can work a lot better if they are organized. तो तब से start हुआ, and we have, like you were asking me, other clients in Bombay. Yes, we have service design clients in Bombay. We have service design clients across India, across the globe. But I would love to work with more Indian brands from a service design perspective, because I do believe that the Indian audience requires a different type of service design intervention. We can't westernize how we cater to the Indian audience.
Right. India में हर चीज़ differently होती है. अभी recently I was listening to somebody, maybe कोई तो podcast I was listening, and then किसी ने एक चीज़ बोली, it deeply impacted me. पहले क्या होता था कि इंडिया में fashion, be it food or anything, everyone used to think कि अच्छा बाहर ऐसा हो रहा है हम वैसा करें. But now I feel anything, I'm not sure किसने बोला, but someone rightly mentioned that anything and everything that's Indian is international now.
200%.
Right.
I cannot agree less. I think, okay, so again, Italy. I went to Italy this time, and everywhere we went where people were like, oh, यहाँ से ये buy करना चाहिए, वहाँ से वो buy करना चाहिए. I enter these stores and I can't find a single thing that I won't find here. All the brands are here. We have quality of homegrown brands that are making things. I think that pride of being an Indian is very active right now.
Right.
When you see life outside of India, you've stopped feeling like places are doing something better.
True.
I mean, sure, infrastructurally we are still getting there, and we are a large population, so that will take its own time.
Definitely.
But in terms of brands, quality, what you buy, what you consume, I cannot think of a single thing you won't find here that you'll need to source from outside.
Definitely. Like this will be like closing segment, but not the last podcast with you. I'm like hoping for many fun conversations as well.
Happy to.
Yeah. So for someone who wants to just start from scratch in India, and possibly who cannot make it to these design schools, how anyone can begin their service design?
Okay, sure. So
Journey.
I think firstly, when someone feels like this is the field I want to transition into, it is nice to get a feeler of the field before jumping into it for like a huge amount of time. And I recommend this to every designer who says they want to transition into UX, UI, service design, product design, जहाँ भी तुम्हें जाना है. अभी इतने सारे courses हैं online which are not equivalent to a degree, but good enough for you to understand if you're vibing with the field. So I would say go to Coursera, go to Udemy. Even we are doing like free master classes every now and then.
Okay.
You join those, you understand what service design is, and take a conscious call first ki haan, this is for me. Right? Because if at the end of whatever 4-5 months of mehnat you do, you realize ki maza nahi aa raha hai, you've wasted time. And the more time you're wasting, the faster the industry is moving. So you might realize कि now you need to upskill a lot more than you did 5 months back.
Right.
क्योंकि अब industry कहीं पहुंच गई है, but to reach where it is, I have to go through this entire thing. So I always say कि first you do like a small course, जो भी 3 घंटे का, 4 घंटे का, 2 दिन का. You see how you're feeling about it. And then if you feel like हाँ service design is for me, and you feel like now is not the time that I can invest in a formal education, I would say pick up the books, go to YouTube. There is so much content available out there.
Right.
And once you've consumed data, right, try to implement it, make self projects.
Right.
Every course will tell you double diamond kya hota hai, service design blueprint kya hota hai. And yes, like if now someone uses double diamond, I'm like, seriously, this is 2023.
I mean,
but
like,
you have to start there.
But ये like okay, I think foundation होना important है सबके लिए, right? But I personally feel कि the way design has been promoted online अभी भी लोग अभी भी like कहीं ना कहीं वो digital design में फंसे हुए से हैं, right?
See, digital design हमेशा रहेगा क्योंकि पूरी दुनिया online जा चुकी है, right? So you cannot ever separate digital from a service anymore. But you also have to realize that who is fully digitally literate? What percentage of your audience can use any type of app you throw in the app store? Not a huge amount.
True.
Right? So this is the parts where service design becomes important, because you're saying कि हाँ digital है, but अगर तुम्हारे पास आज भी वो स्मार्टफोन नहीं है, this is a number you can dial to avail the service on the telephone. So वो चीज़ें होती है. But coming back to what we were discussing, I feel like if you are studying online, if you are doing personal projects, start writing to studios. Tell them you want to do a free internship.
I want people to know it's not that tough to reach out.
It's not, and honestly, like we have hired people in the past, just people who wanted to come and shadow a designer. Right? And I know that other design studios also do it. So if you're really willing, and of course it requires some amount of persistence, but write to people, and especially write to HRs and organizations, because they are people who move on this. So write to studios, say that, this is what I have been able to do so far, and I would love to shadow a designer. I would love to do a 3-month internship. I would love to work for free. And honestly, even if you're working for free, which we don't generally promote, but since you are not coming from a background where you can be put on work, offer to do that. Studios will still pay you a nominal amount, but offer to do it for free.
Right. I mean, लोगों को ऐसा लगता है कि like design studios है, मेरे पास experience नहीं है. They're hesitant to write to people. So like India में like people from tier 2 or 3 cities, उन लोगों को ये at least थोड़ा सा confident होना चाहिए खुद पे कि okay, it's okay to write to people. Right? So
100%. I think if you don't ask, you won't get, right?
Right.
So मैंने खुद अपने करियर के डिफरेंट पॉइंट्स में बहुत लोगों को स्पैम किया है. You have to mentor me, you have to mentor me, you have to mentor me. There were people who I had no chance with, given the point of career I was at. I think some people agreed just because of how persistent I was. कि please message करना बंद करो हाँ. So, I mean, if you really want something, you have to go for it. And it is, I mean, I think ये कभी कभी मैंने इंटरव्यूज में देखा है. People feel like अगर इंग्लिश नहीं आती है तो it's a disadvantage. It is not. It is not a
I mean,
disadvantage.
अगर इतना प्राइड है इंडियन होने का, राइट, और लाइक अभी हम लोगों ने बात किया, राइट, कि एवरीथिंग दैट्स इंडियन, इट्स इंटरनेशनल, इट्स ओके. आई मीन कभी कभी हो जाता है, लाइक बिकॉज इतनी वास्ट लैंग्वेजेस हैं इंडिया में, टू कम्युनिकेट इट्स ईजियर कि इंग्लिश में करो, बट देन आई मीन अगर हिंदी भी आती है दैट.
Yeah, and the thing is, as long as you can speak a language that someone at the studio knows, you are taken care of.
Definitely.
Right? And this is not just me. I'm sure many design founders will agree that your skill set does not come from knowing a specific language. It comes from the work you're able to showcase. So, yeah, even if people are in tier 2, tier 3 cities, they want to take initiative, they want to learn service design, they should reach out. But the only thing is, when you reach out to a studio, you shouldn't come from a space where you're asking questions that can be Googled, because that is frustrating. When someone messages and says ki, what are the different schools I can apply to, that is a waste of time, right? So when you're approaching someone, people are willing to help you if what you're asking for is something that only they can give you. You want to work for a studio, you want to intern at Beyond, you write to me. But if you're going to write to me and ask that, can you suggest a few colleges? I'm not going to.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us here.
Thank you for coming.
This is the first podcast जहाँ पे मैंने introduce नहीं किया. Ishiyetaa, founder of Beyond Design, and for a reason I wanted कि लोगों को conversation के through पता चले the kind of person she is. A great person to be with. Thanks a lot. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.